and a lot of people have died, unfortunately, which should not have happened. But now let's analyze the whole situation. We need to take everything coming right now, the videos, photos, with caution, and we should be not in a hurry to make a judgment, because let the investigation start, things will come out. But let me tell you that this city on 30th of March, the Russian forces withdrew, and on 31st, the mayor of Irpin, which press conference I attended, said that it has been liberated by the Ukrainian forces now. There was no mention of the bodies lying around everywhere. I'm not saying that there are no bodies and there is any kind of plot and there's any kind of, fake narrative, but we need to take it with caution and we need to wait, because from 30th, it is today 5th. There's been a lot of time when these pictures started coming on 2nd, 3 days gap in between. And that puts a question mark why these 3 days gap in between when the Russian forces left on 30th of March. Nabila.
Right. We're looking at this situation worsening. In fact, Ukraine President Zelensky now saying that with the kind of civilian casualties, it's very hard to have any negotiation with Russia at this point. How far has the negotiation gone through? Is there any hope of any kind of, resolve or resolution here between the two countries at this point? We're seeing phase 2 of this war, United States suspecting that this could go on for months.
Look, Nabila, what I have observed in this war, right from the beginning of war, in fact, a few days before the war started, UK and US especially have been fueling this war. Now, the statements coming from President Biden, also a statement coming from Boris Johnson of UK, saying that we'll give more lethal weapons to Ukraine. What will happen? More people will die. What Ukraine is going to achieve and what they're going to achieve? It looks like this is a very sinister plot, and people will keep dying if these more weapons will come. And as more weapons come, the hope for diplomatic solution, the diplomacy to work through will become less and less in the coming days. And the situation looks grim right now from diplomatic point of view. Nabila.
Rajesh, at this point, the West is looking for a war crime trial against Russia. We see the clamor growing for Russia to pay the price for the war crime it's carrying out. While that said, and the kind of moral support and the large-scale condemnation coming towards Russia, is there any further help that we could see from the West, from the United States coming for Ukraine at this point? What do they really need to survive here?
Look, Nabila, let me tell you, Rome Statute, which created International Criminal Court or International Court of Justice, America is not a signatory of that. Biden himself and a lot of American presidents before that said not a single American soldier can be tried by that court or any court outside the United States. So a country which is not a signatory to this statute is now talking of ICC and trying Russian president and Russian soldiers, and that this in itself is quite ridiculous. But having said that, there should be an objective inquiry into this, and a neutral country or maybe some elements from Russia and Belarus should be included in that inquiry to make it more credible, so that the real culprits, this genocide has taken place, a lot of people have died, they should be brought to book, but it should be a neutral inquiry, and the truth will come only after that. And only after that we can talk about ICC and war crimes. Nabila.
Yeah. Rajesh, thank you very much for joining us. Rajesh is in the capital city of Kyiv, where we're seeing on the outskirts, on the suburbs, attacks there that continues unabated. In fact, global outrage over civilian killings in Bucha continues. Ukraine has now accused Russia of war crimes in Kyiv suburbs. Ukrainian President Zelensky has termed the killings as a genocide, while Moscow has now called Ukraine's version of Bucha killings a fake attack. Meanwhile, United States President Joe Biden has sought a war crime trial against Russian President Vladimir Putin. Here's more on what meant by it.
On the streets, inside houses, in the fields, when Russian forces retreated from Bucha, a Kyiv suburb, bodies of civilians were found strewn across the landscape. Many of them had their hands tied. Since the withdrawal, horrific images of mass grave sites have emerged. The footage from Bucha has sent shockwaves across the world. Ukraine has accused Russia of war crimes. As outrage builds over war atrocities, Moscow has termed the killings on Kyiv's outskirts a fake attack.
The other day, a fake news about an attack in Bucha was doing the rounds. But the Russian army
had left the place according to the agreement. A few days later, a fake stage video was spread through social media by Ukraine and the West.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Monday visited the town and met with the residents. He called the killings a genocide.
It's war crime that will be recognized as genocide by the world. You are here and you will see what has happened. We know about thousands of killed and tortured people with cut limbs, about raped women and killed children. I think it's more than genocide.
Reacting to the images of dead bodies in Bucha, US President Joe Biden once again called Vladimir Putin a war criminal.
You may remember I got criticized for calling Putin a war criminal. Well, the truth of the matter, you saw what happened in Bucha. This warrants him, he is a war criminal. But we have to gather the information. We have to continue to provide Ukraine with the weapons they need to continue the fight. And we have to gather all the detail so this can be have a war crime trial. This guy is brutal. And what's happening in Bucha is outrageous. And everyone's seen it.
Germany, which was accused of being soft on Russia due to its dependence on Moscow for gas supply, has also called the killings a war crime.
The images of the past weekend have once again highlighted a new, brutal dimension of this war, with the most serious war crimes and crime against humanity. And that is why I made it clear over the weekend that we must not only close the remaining loopholes in the sanctions system, but that we must also intensively and rigorously implement this package.
As per international law, civilians cannot be deliberately attacked in a war. Pictures coming from Bucha are appalling and clearly show the violation of the code. But indicting Putin for alleged war crimes is easier said than done. This leads to another question. Are economic sanctions the counter to Putin's alleged atrocities in Ukraine? With Gaurav Sawant in Kyiv, Bureau Report, India Today.
Now, the world is in shock over what transpired in Bucha as Russians retreated. With bodies piling up on the road, the images coming from Kyiv suburbs are beyond horrifying. India Today senior executive editor Gaurav Sawant there and video journalist Lalit Joshi witnessed the immediate aftermath of this massacre. Here's our world exclusive.
This is a burnt Russian tank, remains of a burnt Russian tank. The V sign, as you see on the barrel in front, is a clear indication, as Russian tanks use two signs. They either use a V or a Z or a Z. The tank completely shattered and destroyed. It's the gun and the turret, they just lie some distance away, buried in sand, an indication of the kind of impact that took place. As security forces now make inroads into Irpin and Bucha, as emergency vehicles, firefighters, hospital vehicles, and even hearse vans get to Irpin and Bucha, the real extent of death, damage and destruction is becoming apparent. This building perhaps just symbolic of the losses that have been suffered. We are currently inside Bucha, and the destruction that you see all around during the Russian occupation of this place is visible for all. Burnt vehicles, burnt malls, burnt homes, damaged and devastated in the fire. This is a residential block, and this has been shelled completely. Virtually every house shattered, people forced to live outside. Right now the temperature here is -2. It's snowing. It was raining a short while back, but people have nowhere to go. There is no electricity, there is no water, there is no gas. Today, finally, when agencies have come here after the Russians retreated towards Belarus, and the Ukrainian forces have taken control of this area, it's only now that medical services are arriving here to retrieve these bodies, and there are a number of them lying on the roadside, in front of buildings, in ditches. The Ukrainian army says some of them have their hands tied behind them and they were killed in cold blood. Some others killed in shelling. With cameraman Lalit Mohan Joshi, in Bucha, Ukraine. Gaurav Sawant for India Today.